Hey everybody, welcome back to Armchair Authority. This is our podcast number 8. Today we have like last week, smaller list of topics for you guys. Starting with the major one, Article 13 got passed, basically banning use of all copyrighted material on the internet, essentially. So sites like YouTube, Twitch, and other sites like those, normal content creators can't use copyrighted content anymore. So it'll be a major like thing to have over there. So companies like YouTube might start banning use of their site in EU just to prevent any litigations from happening. So what are you guys' thoughts regarding this? Obviously it's a pretty major step for the EU.
My understanding is what this does is it holds the company responsible for hosting copyrighted content, whereas before they're still sort of responsible, but they were given leeway. They were allowed to put in a good faith effort to remove the content. But now with this new rule, any kind of copyrighted content that gets uploaded to someone's website, the holder of the website can be responsible for it. Which would open them up to lawsuits, which means that they're going to be really proactive in like filtering the stuff before it ever gets uploaded.
Yeah, because just under current things, they'd have to have extremely smart filters that just they already don't work under current law rules. My AI professor gave an example of her son did a performance of some piece that's been in the public domain for a long time. But I guess his was good enough and close enough to other performances that he got a copyright strike.
Mm-hmm.
And then, even though he shouldn't have, because it should be his copyright because now of the performance, because the piece itself is in the public domain.
So I guess in this case, performances, would that count then? If you're playing like a piece of copyrighted music?
Yeah, because if the song itself is still copyrighted, yeah, then you have to pay whoever owns those rights.
Because as much as you want to try to limit content creators of what they put in, it's going to be like impossible to get every single case. So I think they might just decide to do like the blanket ban to make their lives easier.
Yeah, I think music filters are some of the easier ones because they just kind of have a database of songs, I guess.
Right.
Or yeah.
My understanding is that this is going to hurt the smaller content creators the most because typically they're sort of adopting content from larger people, be it like art assets or whatever, or like musical pieces. But also it's because people who are trying to host like their own site to like share videos and stuff, they're not going to have the technology to create their own filter to filter out copyrighted content. Whereas Google, who owns YouTube, they already have a lot of these algorithms that they can sort of adopt. And a lot of people are suspecting that Google is probably going to start like renting out their algorithms for other people to use. But yeah, it seems like a bad move.
So do you think? Or sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it also hurts the small creators because their lack of lawyers and just a lot of what the EU's been doing just seems to stifle innovation and just so only the big companies can afford to do business.
I mean, do you think that this sets a dangerous precedent though? In the sense that the U.S. might start adopting some of these changes in the future?
Is there any indication of that happening?
Well, I mean, like, I think, I forget the name of, I think it was Ajit Pai or something. He did the
net
part of the
neutrality
FCC,
thing?
huh?
He like took down the net neutrality thing, right?
Yeah, he took that net neutrality thing, so I wouldn't be surprised if he went further, right? Because this guy's probably capable of thinking about stuff like this, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's something we should be wary of. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, we're moving towards a more like China-like internet deal where things are monitored more closely than I think they should be. And a lot of restrictions are put into place. on the World Wide Web.
Yeah, I wonder if this will drive more and more people to like the dark web, where it's gonna be like very difficult to monitor people.
You know, honestly, I could probably see that. There might be new areas of the dark web popping up the more common users go to, where it's not like crazy. Like I guess what some of the dark web stuff I imagine would be, but that could definitely be a possibility.
I think more will go, but I think most stuff will still not be on there. Like, this came up in one of my classes, but apparently just a lot of the stuff on the dark web is on the surface web too. It's just there's so much there that if it's not on the top result of Google, you'll never really notice.
That's true.
Or just if they have like the robot, no robots.txt or whatever that thing is that just prevents them from being crawled.
So I guess in this sense, the VPN market will be booming in Europe pretty soon, since people will need that to access content that contains copyright material. I guess would something like having say you're making a video, right? And then you have a logo of like a Apple computer or like whatever in your background, that still counts as copyrighted material, right?
That's a trademark.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Okay, so like things in the background where they don't belong to you, they wouldn't actually count, right?
As long as you're not using them to sell stuff. Like if you're not trying to use it as your brand. Now, if that was the center of your thing, maybe.
There was an example I heard from Twitch, how this could affect IRL streaming. Where like if the streamer's walking down the street and they walk by a bar and the bar is playing music, the streamer could be shut down for that. They will be shut down for it.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's only happening across the pond, but...
Well, the worry is that some of these websites that serve customers and viewers, both in America or North America and in Europe, they might have to set rules to apply to like the European standards, right? And so it may end up affecting Americans as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like both in terms of like viewerships and stuff, and what we have to deal with. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that plays out. I think people are protesting this already in the streets, right? Because I heard that Germany, there's like a couple 100,000 people protesting.
I think there's like one last chance to shut it down. There's like one more vote or something that has to take place before it becomes enacted. So
yeah, so we'll just keep track of the changes coming up, see if it actually gets passed. Now, moving back over to the U.S., there's this bump stock ban that basically turns semi-auto weapons into automatic weapons by this singular attachment, where it kind of just like it pushes against your shoulder so that it like automatically makes your finger pull the trigger of the gun, so it fires much faster than you would be able to fire it normally. So Trump did this ban because of I think, Robert, you said it was an interpretation of like the machine gun ban?
Yes, that's how he's doing it anyway.
So since
the law that bans machine guns.
Since this bump stop basically causes the semi-auto weapon to be like a machine gun of sorts, that's how it's getting its ban. And I guess people weren't really liking the interpretation that was used to make this ban.
Yeah, it's more the precedence of just changing the interpretation of laws, because then you can do that later for other stuff. I believe.
Yeah. Well, the original incident that led to this ban was the Las Vegas shooting, where the shooter was using the bump stock, and it seems like it's taken us a long time, right? It's been like 2 years or something.
Yeah, I think it was 2017. So yeah, 2 years.
New Zealand, they had their incident, and then
4 days.
Yeah, 4 days later they're getting into the assault rifles. But yeah, I mean, I guess something. Although I still stand by the fact that we need to do more for the mental health in this country. But, I mean,
100%.
taking this out, I'm certainly not opposed to getting rid of things that turn assault rifles into like full auto
Mhm.
killing machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Very.
then you'd also have to get rid of things like belt loops on pants, because that can do the same thing, apparently.
Mhm.
I
But I
mean,
think like this
uh,
is the bump stock. It's specifically designed to do that. Like if you like make a
Yeah,
mod or a hack, it's really hard to regulate that.
that's
yeah, I
true.
mean, if you found someone who had like that mod or whatever on their gun, then I'm sure you could call it illegal, right?
Yeah, but you can't like say ban belts or something.
Well, no, but if you mean you can't, but yeah, if you did like confiscate like a weapon or something with that kind of mod on it, you could probably hold the person responsible.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So something I read also about just one of the problems with the law is that it just, with how it's currently defined, like a machine gun would be something that shot like once per minute if it was just per the same bullet or same trigger pull, even though if like they design it, yeah, so if you can do a whole bunch of trigger pulls like this, then it really shouldn't be a machine gun. Because I mean, it's technically not a machine gun because you're pulling the trigger each time. It's just
Mhm.
you're also kind of not.
Mhm.
So it's just yeah.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's just the classification is a little wishy-washy.
Yeah, classifications can be really hard. You just
Mhm.
have to draw lines somewhere.
Yep. So, so moving on to another topic within the U.S., the Mueller report summary came out. I think pretty much the day after we did our last podcast. It was a four-page summary that basically said that the entire report was inconclusive, so they can't say whether or not Trump actually colluded with Russia or not. Now, the four-page summary is for like a 300-page plus report, so whether or not you think that that summary is, detailed enough to correctly recount the report itself is another thing. But it seems like I don't think there's going to be any type of action or things like impeachment indictments against Trump at all, because if there was anything that significant, it would probably already be released.
Well, on this topic, but because like on the obstruction of justice, uh, the special counsel did not draw a conclusion one way or the other
Right.
as to whether the examined conduct constituted obstruction. So yeah, it's going like not on the Russian interference, but there's still a lot of other things.
But because they say they can't draw it one way or another, both sides can basically say whatever they want, right? They can say that, oh, they're not saying that he's guilt free, and then the other person's like, oh, there's nothing proving that I did it, so it's going to be more of the same, I
My
would say.
understanding is there aren't any really hard set rules on what obstruction of justice would mean for a president.
Mm.
So that might be one reason why Mueller decided to stay out of it. Because I know that there have been papers, or I guess articles written. I think Barr himself wrote a really long one about how it's impossible under like the U.S. law for a president to commit obstruction of justice or something like that. So there's all
Yeah.
kinds of like technicalities in place. So it's probably going to end up being I think it's going to be a battle. I think
Mm.
over deciding what it means.
Mm. Well, I mean, I wonder, they'll probably still pursue this even after, like, let's say if Trump doesn't actually get reelected, they'll still pursue this, right? Do you think it'll be easier at that point since he's no longer president to say, like, he's done obstruction of justice?
I think if he wasn't reelected, I think it would be dropped completely. Honestly, I think that's sort of how politics works.
Mm.
Just yeah, you don't want to set a pattern of going after those who were in power in the past or something like that.
I see.
Or just like post Nixon when Ford just pardoned him, just to put it all behind him.
Mm.
We can move forward.
So,
A lot
I
of
guess by this,
Republicans.
right?
All right, just go ahead.
I think by this, then we probably have one more year of this, right? Hopefully. But yeah,
Uh,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Edward, with your thought.
So a lot of like I guess right-wing people are going to want to hand wave this whole obstruction of justice argument as a way to sort of reclaim like a lost victory or whatever. Because obviously the big deal of like collusion with Russians is I think that's probably false at this point. But I really think that this discussion on obstruction of justice is a really important one to have for our future, right? And it's a good, I could be persuaded either way at this point, but just my first inclination is I do think that there's some like iffy stuff going on there with the firing of like Comey and stuff like that. Or,
I mean, you don't think it's Trump pulling a temper tantrum? That is actually like a very calculated move?
I mean, it seems like he was constantly going after the people that were responsible for keeping the Mueller investigation going, right? That was like the theme.
That was true, yeah. But he's also fired a bunch of people like on his cabinet, right? Already.
That's true, yeah.
Did we talk about last time about how it seemed like the Mueller investigation ended kind of abruptly?
I don't believe we did.
Because I was seeing people comment on that. That just it seemed like they were still under work, had a lot of way to go, and it just ended.
I feel like that could go both ways though, because every news week you would see like, oh, Mueller investigation coming to an end soon? Question mark. And that feels like it's always looming in the near future back then. So I feel like I just see both things, you know, people saying it ended too soon and people saying it didn't end quickly enough.
I've also heard a lot of people try to make the argument that it's really weird for like Americans to jump on the issue of like Russian interference in the election when America interferes with a lot of other countries' elections. But I would just like to say that
whataboutism.
yeah, like not once would I ever say that like America somehow has like the moral high ground on this issue or something. All I'm saying is that we should try to like solve this, you know?
Yeah.
Just because that we've done this bad stuff too doesn't mean that we now just have to like take it.
Mhm.
So
All right, so I'm gonna pass it over to Robert to discuss this next one since I'm not as familiar with this one. It's like regarding Jussie Smollett from a couple podcasts ago. There's some new developments. So
Yeah, so just he's been in the news again because the Illinois state prosecutor, I believe, or whoever was in charge of that, ended up like dropping the case, and just the way it happened was really weird. So then, shortly after that, the Illinois Prosecutors Bar Association released a statement on it. And so some quotes from it: the events of the past few days regarding Cook County State Attorney's handling of the case is not condoned by the IPBA, nor is it representative of the honest, ethical work prosecutors provide on a daily basis. The manner in which the case was dismissed was abnormal and unfamiliar. When a state's attorney recuses herself from prosecution, law provides that the court shall appoint a special prosecutor, usually a neighboring state's attorney. Here, the state's attorney kept the case within her office and thus never actually recused herself as a matter of law. Because so one of her underlings could do it, but then the underling's going to take orders from her, and so it doesn't change anything. And also said that she falsely informed the public that the uncontested sealing of the criminal court case was mandatory under Illinois law when it was actually discretionary. And so there's a lot of other stuff in that too, but it's pretty harsh. And this sounds like another case of blatant Illinois cooking.
like a firestorm to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just some of the things is just really bizarre.
And then after that he got sued for $130,000 for the cost of the investigation. And if he had paid that, he could have just made it go away, but said no, he doesn't want to. So now he's probably going to get sued over it.
Before this podcast, we discussed about how much that amount would be for him. I thought he was like richer than the average person, but it seems like he's not actually that wealthy, and that amount would be a significant portion of his net worth.
I mean, a net worth of 500,000 or more is still pretty wealthy.
I mean, a net worth of it's not liquidated.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's only like 37, I think.
Okay. I mean, he's certainly up there, but he's not like, I wouldn't say he's I don't know if I'd even say that he's like rich, right? He's just like well off.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Like upper middle class, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in that.
So it's just like, yeah, a little bit strange.
So yeah, 130,000 would be quite a lot for him.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't want it, because there's talk of it being even higher though if he loses.
Mm-hmm.
I saw 390,000, which I guess is just 3 times as high.
The main speculation I've heard regarding this is that the people who are doing the investigation like fucked up the steps in a major way, so they sort of had to sweep the whole thing under the rug. But Robert, you seem to think that there is some kind of corruption going on.
Well, even if they did screw it up, that the steps they took afterwards is not normal. They didn't follow the normal procedures for it.
So maybe they fucked up in such a way that they don't want to like explain how they fucked up, so they had to seal it secretly.
Yes, but I mean, even if they want to seal the record, there was just they didn't follow the steps for that either.
Okay.
Yeah, they have to actually do a proper filing of a petition to seal.
So I guess, is this an instance of him pushing too hard? Because if you think about it one way, right, this whole thing could be a publicity stunt gone wrong. Because no press is bad press, or whatever that saying is.
I've heard that the ratings of his show have gone down. I haven't actually checked that myself.
But I guess like if he's like doubling down on saying that he's actually innocent, it's either he really didn't fake it, or he's too deep in to back out now.
I think he's probably too deep in.
He's too deep.
I think his acting career is probably pretty screwed at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean he's not rich enough to pay it off, right? Because if you would just pay that fine or whatever, it would be like swept under the rug, and it would be more okay than before. But yeah.
A quote from Chicago's mayor: "We call it a whitewash of justice, and from top to bottom, this is not on the level."
What does that even mean?
But yeah, if the mayor of Chicago is saying that you're crooked, that's that's saying something big.
Yeah.
Although
PR move.
Yeah. Although speaking of the mayor of Chicago, they just held an election, so there's going to be a new one.
Well, I mean, at that point, did you really? I mean, he could just basically say whatever he wants at that point.
Yeah. Current mayor of Chicago is Rahm Emanuel, who is the chief of staff for Obama.
Very good.
Well, I guess with that, we've concluded the first part of our podcast, the politics section. We'll be right back with gaming in a little bit. Hey everybody, we're back for part 2 of the Armchair Authority podcast. The first topic that's coming up this week for gaming news, or I guess this is semi-gaming related, is that NVIDIA's neural network that's able to change very rough paint sketches into photorealistic images. So basically what it does is that it recognizes certain colors as different things, like of course green, a shade of green for grass, a shade of blue for sky, and so on and so forth, and being able to transform that into like a real life image. Now, personally, I think that it looks pretty impressive from what it can do. It's said to have many different variations so that the same sketch can produce many different types of images. I I guess what do you guys think about this sort of technology in the future, and what could its potential uses be for?
I don't know, maybe you could like prototype concept art or something. I don't see this being
Yeah.
like super useful in its current form, but maybe this type of AI will like lead into a more practical technology. Yeah.
I mean, just it would make some really nice computer backgrounds.
You would, yeah. Do you think that the rise of fake images will increase? I assume so, right? Because of this.
Yes.
It'd be harder to tell the real thing from like a forgery.
Yeah. Another thing we did in our AI class was so we were given two pictures, one that's real and one that's fake, of like people, and we got 80% of them, but yeah, we still screwed up on some of them.
I mean, 80% is pretty good, right? Considering
Yeah.
how real some of these look. So, not bad at all. I hate to think of a world where like, the fakes are just as real as the real and it's nigh indiscernible.
Yeah, we're going to have to make neural networks that detect neural networks.
Yeah, basically.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
It's so hard right nowadays to tell between like things that are real and things that are fake.
Yeah.
And with like the advances in AI, it's going to make it even harder.
Soon enough, they'll be able to make the fake quotes, or the fake audio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just everything will be fake like that.
Post-truth society.
Yeah. Well, so after going over this quick point here with the NVIDIA neural network stuff, Nintendo is planning to bring Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey to the Labo VR. Now, Robert, I heard this was a little different from the normal.
From the normal Labo?
Yeah, from the normal Labo.
Well, you can just get like the VR kit for $40 instead of 80, instead of getting the other toys that come with Labo.
Mm.
But yeah, so the Breath of the Wild, I think it's going to like the entire game, but Mario they've only done 3 levels so far,
Mm.
and I think that's because in Breath of the Wild, camera movement's pretty smooth, but Mario would be a bit more. I don't know if it's jerky or just it'll change in ways that are harsher on you.
Mm.
So that's why they've only done a few.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when people use the VR, I guess is there like a VR specific copy of the game that they need to own, or is it the base game still fine?
I think the base game's still fine.
Okay.
I haven't seen too much on it. But just, yeah, then the Switch itself is still kind of underpowered for this.
Mm-hmm.
So I've
As
also
expected.
seen talk about the Pro version of the Switch or whatever that the rumors keep persisting.
Right, because there's like
Yeah.
2 rumored versions, right?
It seems like there's going to be an upgraded model and then like a downgraded model. That's what I hear.
So it's kind of like the PS4 Pro and PS4 Slim, kind of, but except for the Slim is actually an upgraded version, similar to
Yeah.
the one.
It's going to be like the 2DS and the new 3DS, I'd guess.
Oh yeah, that's probably more aligned. So, with Nintendo doing like VR stuff now, do you think Skyrim VR will be coming to the Switch soon? They love porting all different Skyrim versions to all different devices.
I don't know. That port sounds like it might take more work.
What do you think Bethesda is doing right now?
No idea.
Realistically, what kind of VR? Realistically, what kind of VR features do you think an upgraded Nintendo Switch could have? Do you think it could have like inside-out tracking or higher resolution, or maybe like a better way to strap it to your head?
I mean, the strap would be easy. At the very least, I don't know, a 1080p screen or being able to do 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
Well, I think we know that the whatever better edition of the Nintendo Switch is not going to be as powerful like the PS4 Pro or Xbox One X.
But
Do you think there's any way that they could do any kind of like inside-out tracking where they have like cameras on it that can sort of see where the controllers are, so you can actually do hand motions?
I think that could be possible.
It'd probably be more likely to just release different Joy-Cons with that. Because the right Joy-Con already has an IR camera sensor thing.
You know, that would make sense because Nintendo's loves getting money off their controllers.
Yeah, but then just the concern is if they release too many things with different compatibilities, they're going to confuse all the grandparents buying stuff.
What do the IR sensors on the Joy-Cons do, actually? Never thought
I don't know.
about it. Okay.
I haven't played a game that uses them.
Do they interface with the old sensor bar from the
No, they do not do that.
Wii?
Because like the Switch doesn't have like any like IR stuff on it, right?
Well, because, yeah, did the remotes use IR? Is that how Wii remotes worked?
Yeah, they use like IR.
Okay, but this is the thing on the bottom of the controller.
Oh, it's on the bottom. I don't know.
Yeah, so it doesn't work with the sensor bar. So most of the stuff that the Switch uses, like where the Wii used the IR, the Switch will use like just gyroscope or whatever most of the time, I think.
I heard that gyroscope sucks because for Let's Go Pokemon or Pokemon Let's Go, it was kind of bad
Yeah,
playing like the docked mode.
a lot of gyros aren't great.
Mm.
Or yeah, the
Okay.
gyro levels of Breath of the Wild are kind of challenging.
So I looked up what games use the IR camera on the Joy-Con, and it says WarioWare. I think maybe. Well, no, that's a theory, but Resident Evil Revelations uses it for reloading. And then LA Noir also uses it for reloading.
But what is it interfacing with?
I don't know.
Okay.
What do you mean by that?
Well, so like, does the Joy-Con just have like an IR receiver on it?
Yeah.
Well, what's the transmitter?
And for reloading, I'm assuming you're just like putting your hand on the bottom and it sees it.
Oh, you're just covering light or something? Okay.
Yeah.
It's like one of our electronics projects.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's the only way they can do it, because yeah, I don't think the Switch has a transmitter on it, right?
No,
I don't believe so.
definitely not one that would be pointing at that.
Yeah, okay. That's weird, but yeah, okay.
I don't suppose either of you played 1-2 Switch.
No. What is that?
Yeah, that should have been the bundle game, like the Wii Sports of the Switch.
You know, I kind of miss Wii Sports. Wii Sports was a pretty good game that you could just like whip out and play with friends and have a good time.
It's been nearly a year since the last time I played it.
Yeah, I think I bought a copy of it again because I lost my original for like $5 somewhere. But moving on to other Switch news though, because we don't want to go down another deep tangent. There's some rumors about certain games being ported to the Switch, like Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, Link Between Worlds, Persona 5, Metroid Prime, etc. I think some of these are, well, at least like Metroid Prime Trilogy is a no-brainer because they're coming out with Metroid Prime 4. Persona 5, not that surprising either because Joker is coming to Smash. I'm not as familiar with the Zelda IP, so maybe you could talk about that a little bit, Robert.
Yeah, Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, those are both the HD versions that were on Wii U that no one played because no one had a Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
And Link Between Worlds is, what was it originally on? An SNES?
Oh, well, that's old.
Yeah, that's a lot older. It had a sort of remake sequel and Link, wait, no. Link Between Worlds, sorry, is the 3DS one. Link to the Past is the SNES one.
So not too old.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not Link Between Worlds. It's Link to the Past.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that would be pretty old. I haven't really heard any details of it. I have a feeling it would be more Virtual Console instead of, because their other option would be like Link's Awakening, where it's just souped up graphics.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I don't know.
So basically, these games are getting the Breath of the Wild treatment, essentially.
Just by being on both consoles.
Yeah, by like being on the Wii U first, and then the Wii U not being a good enough or popular enough console, and then ported over to the Switch eventually.
For Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, yeah. Which I'm excited for Wind Waker because I never played that on GameCube.
I mean, I think like I really only played one Zelda game. I forget what it actually was, but I think Wind Waker to me looks like the most iconic because of the cell shading and the different graphics style.
It's funny though because everyone hated it when it was initially released. So they wanted a super realistic one, and they got Wind Waker, and so then after that they got Twilight Princess, and that was their realistic, dark, gritty one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll continue monitoring the progress of this. See if it actually turns out to be true, or it could just be like an April Fool's joke, right? For some of these.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. The last topic we have for today is Borderlands 3. I think it's coming out September, October, maybe. And it's having a 6-month exclusivity deal on the Epic Game Store, which is a topic of high controversy, given certain things like privacy issues, being owned by Tencent, amongst other things. Now, I think people are just being a little bit too reactional for this, saying that the Epic Game Store is, pretty bare compared to Steam and all that. I think it's just that they're more used to Steam and want everything on the same library. And I mean, it's not like they have to pay anything for the Epic Games launcher either. And most people seem fine with exclusivity anyways, because like PS4 has their exclusives, and then Xbox has their exclusives, and Nintendo has their exclusives. So no one complains about that, but they complain about this, which is really strange to me.
People do complain about it a lot. It's just what are you going to do?
Well, yeah, I mean, they've been dealing with that, but it's not like up to this level, I think, of hate for the Epic Game Store.
I think it's just the audience has changed because PC gamers are used to more or less getting what they want.
Mm.
Although you have the poor ports like which of the Arkham games was that?
I feel like the Arkham games that I played so far are pretty good, so I didn't notice any issues.
One of them was a terrible port initially,
and probably Arkham Knight.
I think it was Arkham City that was initially a really bad port. I think they fixed it.
Yeah, because I didn't have any issues at all.
Mm.
But I guess I don't know. I think enough people play Fortnite anyways that they probably already have the launcher installed anyways. So that makes it even less of a big deal. And those people complaining about privacy, it's like the same thing as the people who use Google or Amazon and complain about privacy when they're like basically giving out all their information to the big companies.
Tencent is that Chinese mobile one, right?
It's like, yeah. Tencent.
Don't like them. But...
My understanding is, although Tencent does some like pretty sketchy stuff overseas, they tend to be pretty hands off on a lot of their like Western projects, is what I've heard.
Yes.
Wait, wasn't that also the company for Diablo Mobile or whatever?
Yes. I mean, Tencent has a lot of investments into the American gaming industry, right? So
they own Riot.
They own Riot. League of Legends is owned by them. I think like parts of Ubisoft and other. I think even Activision Blizzard, part of it is funded by Tencent.
Wow.
So Tencent is huge, and I guess if people hate Tencent that much, they should just boycott all these other games too. But they don't.
Yeah. Well,
they still bow down to their Chinese overlord.
They hate most of the other studios you've mentioned, so.
Yeah.
People do hate Activision, yeah, and they hate Blizzard as well now these days.
I mean, Activision basically like dragged Blizzard's name in the mud.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't fault them for it. I guess like what other investments do they have? Because I feel like they have a lot of stuff. But while I look at that, let me ask you guys if you have anything else to talk about in terms of gaming. Do we have anything else to bring up this week before we move on to the next section, the question part?
I've played Sekiro. It's like a new game.
Yeah, how's that?
It's alright. I kind of prefer my first impression is I kind of prefer the style of like the Dark Souls games, but I mean I think it's okay.
I heard that it was like a combination of like Tenchu and Dark Souls, and they have like both game elements in there.
Yeah, and it gets kind of messy. Like if I kind of wish honestly if I could make a change to the way the game is structured, I wish it was structured more like Tenchu, where maybe there's like a base and you like have to like infiltrate it in like different ways or whatever. Instead of like the level design is sort of like Dark Souls, but like less interesting. And then you also do have like a sort of combat stealth type of action, sort of like Tenchu. I don't know. It's like a weird mishmash. I think that they should have gone further into like the Tenchu direction. But
So is Sekiro is like samurai based, right?
well, you play a ninja, but
You play as a
fight.
ninja?
Yeah, I guess you kill a lot of samurai dudes.
Then I guess it would make more sense to play it as the Tenchu style, right? Because Tenchu is more stealth based, and Dark Souls not as much, really.
Yeah, my understanding is originally was gonna like the rumor at least. I don't think there's anything to confirm it, but the rumor was that it was originally going to be a Tenchu game.
Mm. But what can you do, right?
Yeah.
You said you were gonna do like a mod for it, right?
So there's this mod, being the anime game that it is. Well, it's not really an anime game, but it has like ninjas in it.
And that
Um,
basically qualifies it as an anime game to most people.
I guess, yeah. But there's a mod to change like your cloak or robe or whatever. I think it's like some like specific garment from Japan. I don't know what the name is though. But whatever it is, you change like the texture of it from like its orangish brown color to like the anime girl faces. It's an
The things that
interesting
people
mod.
come up with.
Yeah.
This game's only been out for like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, I think it's been about like 2 weeks. Yeah.
They already have. They already have this mod already. Oh boy. But yeah. Anything else to add before we move on?
Not gaming news, but the game I want to play the most right now is a third playthrough of Breath of the Wild, so I don't know what that says about me.
Why do you want a third playthrough? Like, didn't you just finish the second playthrough?
No, my second playthrough was last summer.
Has this game actually been this old? Is it like, did it come out 2017 or
It
2016?
came out spring 2017.
Okay.
Oh.
17. Well,
It just feels like old news at this point.
Yeah. I just really like the game for some reason.
nothing really changes in the playthroughs though, right? It's kind of like the same stuff.
Yeah, it's basically the same. Yeah, there's no class builds or whatever to change how you are.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I shouldn't hate too much since I do replay games from time to time too, but I feel like Breath of the Wild is like 100-hour plus game, and
Well, if you're doing everything, on my second playthrough, I didn't do everything. Yeah.
I see.
Did you find any of the?
I did. They own a portion of Blue Hole, which developed PUBG. They own parts of EA as well. Supercell, the creator of Clash of Clans, belongs to Tencent. Ubisoft, I think I said that already. Path of Exile's developer, Grinding Gear Games. So basically, it has like its hand in everything.
Yeah.
I think I've heard from the Grinding Gear Games people their investment from Tencent or whatever went pretty smoothly, and they weren't really told to do anything. They just kind of got their money, and I assume obviously they have to give something up, but in terms of like control, they still have like full control over their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It also sounds like we can blame them for the whole battle royale craze.
Can we though?
Well, PUBG and Fortnite.
Well, H1Z1 came before PUBG,
Which
and
one
the
did?
H1Z1 wasn't like the first battle royale either. So.
I suppose.
Mm.
Battle
I
royale
mean,
passes.
then again though, I'm looking at some of these percentages, and it only owns like 5% of Activision Blizzard, 5% of Ubisoft, and like 40% of Epic Games.
Hmm.
So some of these aren't as major, but some of them are. They're like 80% for Grinding Gear games, 100% for Riot Games, 84.3 for Supercell.
The real question is why do people in China, and I guess pretty much all the Asian countries, why do they like mobile games so much? That's the real question. Especially the pay to win stuff.
Yeah.
I've never
Well,
seen the appeal of mobile games whatsoever.
Normal game. Do they have as much access to normal games? Maybe.
uh, I'm not sure actually. I think, well, I mean, Steam is there, so that's already a pretty big library. I think people are just addicted to their phones because they would just play. I guess on their like commute, you can see people in the subway playing PUBG on their phones.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
So
I think just if I had to sit there, I'd rather just like browse Reddit or something than play.
yeah, Reddit's banned in China, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another thing people use VPNs for.
Yeah, it's like I mean, a lot of if any of us moved over to China, we would have a pretty tough time because like the major stuff is banned, like YouTube, Google, Reddit, other things as well.
What's their reason for banning this stuff? What's like the official government reason?
I don't know the official government reason, but part of it is probably like bad American influence or like Western influence.
They don't
Okay.
really need to have a reason.
Well,
Oh, they
they're not
don't.
just going to tell their citizens that there's like bad information that we don't want you to know about, right? Like, they're not going to say that.
They're just well, I mean, like they're saying that the West is gonna corrupt your minds or something.
Yeah, they're going to like word it in a more, I guess, in a less like blatant way.
Yeah, I wonder like I feel like there's other websites that I'm not remember. Oh, Google Maps. I guess everything Google is banned. Facebook is banned. Um,
Yeah.
Chinese Wikipedia is banned. Twitter,
For, for,
Instagram.
for Google Maps, I can elaborate on that. Non-Chinese companies aren't allowed to map China.
Mhm.
And in fact, cartographers in the past, I think we're working on like earthquake data or something,
Mhm.
are arrested. So yeah, just everything in China's Google Maps is wrong because they put it all their map data goes through like a warping algorithm,
Mhm.
and so then you'll see like their bridge to Hong Kong or whatever, and
Mhm.
it's just there's like it doesn't connect in the image
Mhm.
because the China half is wrong.
Mhm. It seems like a lot of, I guess it's no surprise, but a lot of news sites are blocked as well.
Mm.
Um, they did unblock Chinese Google Maps though, according to this Wikipedia page.
It seems like Google's going to start playing ball with them, right? That was like a big controversy not too long ago. They had
Well,
like
if
a Project Phoenix or something.
Mhm.
I don't know if Google's about to give up on Europe, why don't they give up on China?
Because China's a huge market and that they would like to tap into for the money.
I don't think Google's going to give up on either. They're just going to adopt their to
Mhm.
our policies. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we ever do decide to go to China, we basically just have to go to Hong Kong because everything is
Um,
basically unblocked there.
Yeah, but for how much longer?
don't they like recombine in like 2040 or something?
Is that the plan?
I think there's like a plan coming. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because it was there's 50 years after China's takeover in 90 whatever,
Hmm.
but then China they would just may do it sooner if they feel like it.
I don't know if that would be a great idea though, because I think with Hong Kong being a little bit distant from China, it brings in a lot of international business.
Mhm.
And beneficial to like the country as a whole. So it's weird. Well, that was a interesting tangent, right? All the way from games to Tencent to
Yeah.
China's ban, but
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to monitor because like
it
a
is.
lot of this stuff could very well be like the model for how like all societies go forward. So
Hmm.
it's just interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah, definitely true. All right. So I guess for this week, I have the question for the two of you. Um, Recently I've been thinking about this quite a lot, and I was wondering if you think you guys will ever discover something that you're so passionate about that you would be willing to give up everything for. So, for example, you would be willing to risk your health and potentially lower the amount of years that you live to, so shortening your lifespan, for instance. Um, I guess the best example of this would be like an athlete who's trying their best to be the best in their particular sport, and they're willing to go to extremes, like having an extreme diet that's probably not as healthy as for their body as it should be, training really hard, stuff like that. That would that you guys would be willing to do anything for.
Mm. Um, I guess I could start. Yeah, I don't really think there's anything that I'm not committed to. Yeah. Like, I guess the two things would be like sports. I'm not really into doing a lot of sports, although I'm vaguely interested in martial arts. I could see myself doing like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stuff, knowing that it'll put a lot of stress on my joints and stuff. I guess I could see myself doing that, but I don't think I'd ever be like full in on it.
Not like the jiu-jitsu master going
Yeah,
to worldwide competitions for Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
'cause that stuff can actually really mess up your joints and stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, like the closest thing I could think of, the most realistic scenario is like later on in my life when I hit like my 40s or something. I could see myself getting on like some type of like um, steroid stuff or something if I felt like it was going to improve my quality of life, even if it ended up shortening it.
Hmm.
That's like the one trade-off I could see myself making.
I see. Robert, what about you?
Um, I mean, it kind of sounds like you were describing having kids, because also before you mentioned sleeping less per night,
Yes.
which, I mean, yeah, I could see it for that, but for other things, not really.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't. I've done putting in a lot of time per week for sports,
Hmm.
and I'm kind of sick of that.
I mean, I guess like sports was just like an example though
Yeah.
of things that I mean, I guess sports is the thing that fits in the best with this, but
All right. I guess the right type of job, if you want to be one of those people that works 80 or 90 hours per week
mhm,
or more, but I
that's
would
true.
not
I don't
do
think
that.
that's your style,
No.
either of you's style.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so just normal life things, not really.
I see. Personally, I kind of want to find something like that. I, I don't know. I don't like the idea of being mediocre, and I think if I do find something like that, it would obviously be something that I enjoy quite a bit, and something that I would be willing to strive towards achieving. And I guess like having that ultimate purpose in life would be pretty nice as well.
You could join the military.
I mean, that's not something I care about though. It has to be something I care about, right?
They'll make you care about it.
I mean,
They'll break
I
you
need to
down.
take the first step to actually care about it and enlist, but I don't care about it enough to start enlisting. So no, I don't. I don't know. I think it'd just be like a nice thing to have. Um, I guess the extent to which I would sacrifice myself for that, I'm not quite sure yet. What I'll be willing to do, but in theory, it sounds nice to have something that you're truly passionate about.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we already have to sacrifice a lot to just live comfortably, right? You have to work a third of your life.
That's true, but is it worth sacrificing for that, right? It's not
Is
like
life worth living?
it's not you like you enjoy it. Um, life is probably worth living.
Yeah, well, I mean, it must be if we're working a third of our lives to do it.
Um, I feel like it's kind of like impossible to answer that because once you've experienced life, like the death starts to look really scary, right? But if you've never lived, then the threat of death isn't there ever.
Mm. I mean, I guess. I mean,
I mean, maybe
what,
Robert would disagree, right? Because you're like religious, so maybe death isn't so scary. I don't know.
I mean, it's scary if I've lived my life wrong.
have you lived your life wrong as of now?
I mean, I don't think I have, but I'm wrong a lot.
Well, everybody's wrong a lot, so you're not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just something I was thinking of over this past week. Both the idea of being the best at something and the idea of sacrificing for that goal.
The easiest way to be the best at something is to pick something else, something that no one else cares about.
Yeah, but
It's the point of being the best.
okay. I guess like the best also in my mind requires some kind of recognition for being the best at that thing. And if I chose some obscure thing that no one cares about, then I don't think being the best at that would even remotely register with me.
I mean, yeah, you just need niche recognition. Because in that case, you could choose to be the best at some card game that nearly everyone's forgotten about. Like, you could be the best at the original Bakugan game, because they just released a different Bakugan game where you lose by decking out.
It just
Well,
wouldn't feel satisfying. It just wouldn't feel satisfying.
if I wanted to be best at something, I'd want to be the best at something that isn't just like a fad, you know? Like, I don't
Uh-huh.
want to be like the best at like some card game that's going to be irrelevant in like 3 months.
Be the best at Japanese tops, which is what
Okay.
inspired Beyblade.
I mean, at that point, I would just like invest my life. If you want to go the Japan route, into like shogi or go, and be the best at that, or try to be one of the
Isn't
best.
it too late for a lot of this stuff? Like it's like gonna be impossible to be the best at like any sports, obviously, or any or like chess. I feel like that's off the table.
You think chess is off the table?
I kind of think so. Yeah, at this point.
Master at this point, starting at this point, probably.
How? I mean, you could do years of training into it, right? Throw years
Yeah,
of time
your youth years are your most important.
in terms of strategy.
Just development, because that's when your brain is most plastic.
Wasn't like Magnus Carlsen like 9 or he was like 9 years old or something when he was like beating grandmasters? Like I feel like there's like something to like being really young and like learning it. I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah. I guess for some of these things as well, especially in sports, genetics plays a high role in helping you become the best.
Yeah.
So the genetic dictates that you're like a 4'5" midget. You can't actually compete in a lot of the stuff. And
Yeah, like
hope
or
to
if
win.
I don't know if you guys have been following the Kyler Murray thing,
No,
but
I have not.
because he's what did he measure in at 5'10", something like that, and that's extremely short for a quarterback. And it's just that he's amazing at everything else, but just he's small, and so there's just been a lot of debate over whether or not he can do it. And this is a guy who won the Heisman last year.
I mean, yeah, there's always like limits
Mm.
that you have to deal with. But yeah, anyways. If we don't have any more thoughts regarding this topic, I think it's a good time to close off the podcast for this week.
Yep, I think It's a good place to stop.
All right, sounds good. I guess that will be it, ladies and gentlemen, for episode 8 of the Armchair Authority podcast. And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Bye.